UFC 311, baby. It's finally here. It's been such a stacked card that so many fans have been looking forward to for so fucking long. Feels like a dream that it's actually here, man. Top to bottom, it's an amazing card. Today, I'm going to be giving you guys my main card and prelims predictions and breakdowns for this one. Disclaimer really quick, I did see this morning that Johnny Walker versus Guskov is off, and as the time I'm recording this, I don't know if Guskov has a replacement opponent yet, so I'm just not going to be covering that fight, so apologies, but regardless, even though we lost that one, it's still an amazing card top to bottom. So just starting off with the first prelim, we're going to be talking about Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferriera. Grant Dawson KGD. I'm a Grant Dawson fan, man, and I'm going to be picking him on this one. Personal bias aside or not. But yeah, I'm a fan of Dawson, man. I'm rooting for him in this one. I do think that Ferriera has been making great improvements, and the fact that it's at 39 years of age, I got to tip my fucking hat to my Ben Askren fro. I got going on. I'll tip whatever the fuck to him, because you know what? It's not something easy to do, especially when you're dealing at the lighter weight classes, and obviously we're dealing with a lightweight here who's 39 years of age, and he's looking now better than he ever has before. And it's not only that he's looking great, right? And the fact that he beat a guy like Rombeski, who just beat Orabai, who was a big prospect that a lot of people believed in, so that win got even more justified. Or not even justified, more so than I should just say. It's even more of an impressive win. Ferriera's just looked like a motherfucker on the feet, and he's really improved his striking in his past couple fights. Obviously, we had a kind of a big losing skid going on before that. But again, like before this recent winning streak, he was a guy that wasn't really the biggest finisher in the world, didn't have a lot of pop behind his shots, not the cleanest striking. If anything, he was more so of a grappler. So the fact that he's getting an opportunity like this against a guy who used to be in the rankings, Grant Dawson, I think this is great for him, and I actually think this is going to be a really exciting fight. I know Dawson gets smudge allegations, but fuck the hell off with that shit, alright? So I'm hyping up Ferriera, right? I think he's been looking great lately, making great improvements, so why am I going to be going with Grant Dawson? I do think that if anybody's going to be able to beat Grant Dawson, it's got to be somebody that's kind of in that top 10 to 15 worthy range. I understand that Bobby Green, of all people, got a knockout over him, and Bobby Green isn't really the type to really be flatlining motherfuckers. We'll get to that performance in a bit, but for this matchup specifically, I think that Dawson's grappling is going to be able to overwhelm him in this one. And even in Ferriera's losing skid, or just in past performances in his career, he was never really a guy to get super dominated on the ground. I don't even think he's ever been submitted in the UFC. So then why the hell am I going with Grant Dawson, right? Because Dawson, although, you know, he's got solid striking, solid cardio, solid pace he puts on guys, he's primarily a grappler, and that's for the most part how he gets guys out of there. He's able to drown you, and he doesn't always have to get the submission as well. Like his most recent performance, like had a sick ground and pound TKO in like the second round, I believe. So he's a motherfucker down there in the ground, and like I don't think that Dawson's gonna really be able to get him out of there via submission. Again, defensively, Ferriera is very sound on the ground, but I think Dawson, like I'm saying, if people are gonna be able to beat him, I think it's gonna be in that top 10 to 15 range. And again, while Ferriera's been making big improvements, and I really respect it, I think that Dawson's really fucking hungry coming into this one. I think he wants back in the rankings. He's being relatively active. I think that Dawson's going to be able to hold his own on the feet against Ferriera, and I think Ferriera's going to throw everything he's fucking got at him. I think he's going to put forth the heavy pace. I think he's going to look clean on the feet. And like I was saying earlier, let's talk about the Bobby Green loss. The Bobby Green knockout loss in like the first round for Grant Dawson. I'm not going to lie, that's really concerning, okay? When you're going against someone with a lot of pop and power behind the shots, and is going to bring forward a high tenacity like Ferriera, it is a bit concerning for Dawson's shin, because for the most part, I mean, he's pretty much won every single one of his UFC fights, and he's proven that he does have a solid chin. But when you're getting cooked like that by Bobby Green, of all people, and Bobby Green is solid, don't get me wrong, especially in the striking department, but like he's not really known for just getting those big KOs, you know what I mean? And so for Dawson to kind of go out like that, it really wasn't a good look on him. So I definitely can see Ferriera getting a knockout win on this one. I think that if anybody is going with Ferriera on this, look at the fuck, I'm pretty sure he's like a plus 300-ish underdog. So if you're confident enough, dude, I say put some money on that shit. Again, I definitely can see a Ferriera KO if he's able to drown him with a heavy pace and is able to overwhelm him on the feet, catch him with all the right shots. And if Dawson's chin really isn't that great, then this is going to be a big problem for him. But I think it's good enough. I think the chin's good enough, and I think his striking is solid enough, and I just think he's so hungry right now that I think he's going to be getting this win. I could see a unanimous decision from Grant Dawson on this one. I'm going to be going with Dawson by UD. I think he's going to be able to overwhelm kind of overall. So moving on up next to Zachary Reese versus Sedriques Dumas. So I'm going to be going with Zachary Reese on this one. I feel like Dumas was a guy who, when he kind of entered in the UFC and we started racking up his first couple wins, I feel like he was a guy that had a lot of hype behind him, but I feel like as of late, he's been putting on lackluster performance, and even when he's not putting on those lackluster performance, he's losing. I think his most recent loss was earlier last year to Ruzaboyev, and nothing wrong with losing to a guy like Ruzaboyev. He's skilled for sure, but like, I feel like people were putting a lot of hype into Dumas, and as of late, he's just been a decision merchant. Again, the decisions that he is getting aren't that great of wins, and it's not like he's facing like very elite caliber of opponents, you know what I mean? So for his opponent, Zachary Reese, he did have a nice performance on the Contender Series, but obviously he did lose in his debut. Brutal slam KO to Cody fucking Brundage of all people, but don't get me wrong, he's looked good since. He had a nice round 1 finish in there, had a nice UD victory in there, and I think he's looking to go back, kind of build up a good win streak right now. And Dumas is a guy, I actually don't know what the betting odds are for this one, but I feel like when it comes to the finishing ability and kind of just the overall skill set to beat a guy like Dumas, I just think that I'm confident in Reese kind of taking this one, you know what I mean? Not sure how he gets it done though, but moving on up next to Jailton Almeida versus Sergei Spivac. So I'm going to be going with Jailton Almeida on this one. If Spivac wins, bro, heavyweight is fucking cooked, okay? If Kuniev beats Blades, heavyweight is cooked. Now we don't even know if Jones versus Aspinall is going to be happening, so Volkov just got robbed against Gane, so like heavyweight is kind of like, I'm a little bit concerned, okay? As if people kind of weren't already concerned about the state of it in the first place. But Jailton Almeida, not the most entertaining fighter in the world, at least as of late, but like, we need him to kind of win this one, all right? We need sanity in the fucking world, bro. Sergei Spivac, he's not a bad fighter by any means, but he's just very Apex gatekeeper vibes, in my opinion. No disrespect, but like, he has solid striking, he's solid on the ground, he has solid pop to some of his shots, but I don't think he's great at anything. Like, I don't think he's gonna be able to completely drown Almeida on the feet and knock him out. Like, Blades got that one done, you know what I mean? But Blades, I feel like, is a much higher caliber opponent comparatively to Spivac. Again, he's solid kind of overall, and I believe his most recent win was a solid round 1 finish, submission of all fucking things, against Martin Tybura, who, if anything, it's crazy to even say this, but is one of the better grapplers at heavyweight. He went out there and he beat him in his own game, but I just think that Almeida's grappling is going to be too much for him in this one. I just think Almeida is so fucking strong down there, and although as of late it hasn't been the most entertaining performances, I do think that he's going to be able to get a round 2 submission here. I think Almeida is just going to kind of be shooting, probably not right away, but I'll give him like 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds, and I can see Almeida just kind of shooting until eventually he's able to officially take him out via some kind of sub. And again, I think it's going to be going down in the second round. I just think Almeida's grappling is too good, and he's not even bad on the feet. So when it comes to the striking battle, again, I just think Almeida can kind of take this one however he wants, but specifically a submission I'm going to be seeing here. I think Almeida's going to be looking for a finish. I was just talking about Dawson earlier, who kind of is like, you know, he's kind of doesn't want to be on these prelim spots, when before he was like a guy that was in the rankings or was getting main card spots. Jailton Almeida was getting fucking main events, you know what I mean? Now he's in the smack dab middle of the prelims, and even though his last win over Romanov, you know, it was a solid win and he got him out of there via some kind of finish, he didn't exactly win over the fans. So I think Almeida's going to be looking for a finish in this one. I do think he needs a lot more momentum on his side. The talent is there, and he's a really talented grappler, especially for heavyweight standards, and he's good enough on the feet where I could see him going really far. I could see him beating a guy like Cyril Gane even, or a Volkov, shit like that. Like, I do believe Almeida can go far, but it's all about, I guess he's just got to fucking figure it out. That nice in between of going out there and getting stellar finishes, but also finding a way to have smart IQ at the same time, if that makes sense. I see a round 2 submission coming from Jailton Almeida. So moving on up next to Payton Talbott versus Raoni Barcelos. So I'm going to be going with Payton Talbott on this one. Also, the poll is fucking massive, but I can't blame y'all. I honestly think that Barcelos is a proper step up for Talbot. And I like that Talbot isn't just going to be some like main card opener or shit like that. I'm a big fan of Talbot. I'm a big believer in the skill set, and I think he's going to go pretty far. And again, I think it's something fresh and exciting for the division. People like to say that he's like the Sean O'Malley that we never got to actually see, but I really do think that that's the case, and I like that they're actually pacing him out right. Like, they're giving him a proper step ups continuously in competition. He's not just being thrown in these big spots so that fans are gonna fucking resent him. I think they realize kind of the star potential here, and they're treating him right, and I can appreciate that. Again, I do think that Barcelos is a proper step up for Payton Talbot. The fact that Talbot's an even bigger favorite in this one against fucking Giannis Gamora, well, I guess it kind of makes sense, but you know what I'm saying. Barcelos is a guy who's been around the UFC for a while, 7-4 record, I believe, in the UFC, but he's got solid striking, solid grappling. He's pretty well rounded, but at the end of the day, I think that Talbot is going to be able to win this one however he wants. I can honestly even see Talbot going in there and kind of showing off the offensive grappling, because I know that defensively we've seen a little bit of sparks of it, and he does look good down there, but we haven't really seen him go on the offense too much on the ground. I think that a matchup like this, where he's a big favorite and he's going to be confident as fuck going into this, and he kind of wants to make a statement, I feel like I could see him incorporating some of the offensive wrestling in this one. And again, Barcelos is solid down there, and he's solid on the feet, but I think Talbott's going to be able to mix it up pretty well. Barcelos, for the most part, has a good chin. I believe the only time he's been knocked out in the UFC was to Umar Nurmagomedov, but the fact that Umar is KOing him, look, I understand that Umar, really good striking, clean on the feet, and he's got some pop behind the shots, but if Umar can take him out like that, I could see Talbott taking him out in the same way, if not even quicker or in a more impressive fashion, because Talbott's striking, man, it's really fucking good. And again, it's kind of always weird to kind of talk about these guys like that are kind of coming up on the ranks and they haven't really fought like anybody super big yet, and Talbott's guy is only like 26 years old, I believe, off the top of my head, but the talent is there, man. He's such a fun, dynamic striker, and again, he's got a lot of talent. He puts a good pressure on his opponents, and like, he's young, the UFC's behind him, and again, with just the skill set alone, defensive grappling is there, the striking, it's so fun and dynamic, and he's got power behind his shots, and he's able to overwhelm guys in there. The Cameron Simon win was fucking amazing, dude. That was a prospect for first prospect matchup that I feel like a lot of people thought it was going to be a lot closer than it was, but Talbott went out there and made him absolutely feel like he didn't even belong in the same fucking cage, you know what I mean? Knocked out Giannis Gamori in 20 seconds, and even in his debut, I'm talking about, Talbott's not really a guy we have to see a bit more on the ground, but I'm pretty sure his first win in the UFC was via some kind of submission, you know what I mean? The dude's talented. It's going to be really interesting to see where he goes after this. I say give him like a Marcus McGee, maybe like a Montel Jackson after this. It's somebody in like the 14-15 range in the rankings where it's winnable for McGee and Jackson. I feel like if, like, again, they'd be able to get a win there, but it's also a good entry for Talbott into the rankings. He'll be 10-0 in that point, riding a lot of hype, and I feel like, you know what, like, I at first was kind of like, okay, after Barcelos, like, let's see Talbott kind of get somebody else on rank, maybe like an Adrian Yanez or shit like that, but you know what, fuck that shit, dude. I actually kind of just want to see it, so give him like a Marcus McGee next or some shit if he gets past Barcelos. I'm not trying to make it seem like the fight's already fucking done, because Barcelos could win this one, but when I'm looking at this matchup, especially stylistically, I have no idea how Barcelos will be able to get it done, other than maybe like if he's able to survive Talbott's big shots, or is able maybe to overwhelm him on the ground. Maybe Talbott, that is a big hole in his game. Again, you don't know with these kind of like young upcoming guys with a lot of question marks, but I think Talbott has shown that he's good enough all around that he's going to be able to make quick work of Barcelos. So I see some kind of round 1 or 2 finish coming from Payton Talbott on this one. So moving on up next to the main card right here, we're starting off with Kevin Holland versus Reiner de Ridder. I'm going to be going with Reiner de Ridder on this one, and it's for multiple reasons, okay? And the first here, I don't like Holland at middleweight. I think he's much more fit at welterweight, and again, it's impressive that he can kind of go back and forth between the two and still kind of hold his own. And I feel like middleweight, these guys are too fucking big for him, you know what I mean? Holland's a big dude in his own right, but again, I just feel like welterweight is a much better fit for him, so I don't like his chances against a lot of these middleweights. And RDR, man, he gets a lot of DDP comparisons, but I think he lacks the certain qualities that actually make DDP so special. I get it, they got the drunk man, sloppy man style, alright, and I get it, but I think DDP is just the overall much better fighter. But who the fuck knows? We're gonna find out a lot in this fight about RDR, because the GM3 fight, I understand GM3 is like the gatekeeper and he was able to efficiently get past him, but like GM3 was giving him a lot of problems. Now don't get me wrong, to be able to submit GM3, especially after he's kind of battle testing you a bit, it's definitely impressive. It's a nice debut and he was able to get a finish in there, okay? But it's pretty concerning that he's so open defensively on the feet, you know what I mean? Like GM3 was catching him with some really clean shots, and again, RDR got a good win, and the fact that he submitted GM3 in his own fucking game, it's really impressive, but there's a lot of question marks there, and I feel like Holland is going to be a good test. It's kind of sad to see that Holland has kind of just entered like this gatekeeper role, and I really do respect that. Like, he's an entertaining fighter, he puts on shows for the fans, he's got a sick personality, and he's a really active fighter with an exciting fight style, but like, you just never fucking know what you're going to get with Kevin Holland, okay? That's part of also why I'm going with RDR on this one, because Kevin Holland, you don't know which version of him is ever going to show up. When you look on paper at the talents and at the skill set, you think this guy could go really fucking far, but then in reality, he's just flopping and he's just losing guys where you kind of are questioning if he really should lose them. Like, it's not even like Holland, I would say, has low fight IQ, more so than he just chooses not to give a fuck and act all fucking cool about it. The dude just doesn't give me the vibes that he has like championship aspirations. It seems like he's here to just fucking get a bag, put on a show, get a fucking full violence collab once in a while, and then just get the fuck out. Talking about RDR again, a former double champ, and despite the sloppy style, I actually do think he's pretty solid. I think Holland has fought faster opponents, I think he's fought stronger opponents, I definitely think he's fought higher quality opponents, but I think that RDR is solid enough all around, and he has enough high level experience that he's gonna be able to get past this test. Solid grappling, solid striking, solid power, but again, in terms of the UFC, we still kind of got a lot to see from him. Holland definitely has a good chance of winning this one though. Again, that's why I think that Holland is kind of like the perfect fight to make next for RDR, because if he's able to get past him, him, then it goes to show that he is going to be serious, and let's give him somebody in the rankings next. But if Holland goes out there and beats him, it puts Holland a little bit more back on the map, shows that he's still able to get some fucking wins. Holland is definitely going to go into this one with a chip on his shoulder, like, especially after the last performance against Dvalishvili. Like, I don't think that was all on him. Like, I think it was just some kind of rib injury in the scrambles, I believe. But yeah, that wasn't really all on him. I had Dvalishvili kind of going in that fight. I thought Dvalishvili was going to win, but I would call it more so a fluke than an actual win from Dvalishvili. You know what I'm saying? Holland's going to go into this one with a fucking chip on his shoulder. Like, he doesn't want to be, I'm sure he doesn't want to be some kind of gatekeeper, all right? And I think he can kind of sense the vibe that the UFC is just kind of going to start feeding him guys, or already has started to. So I think he's going to go into this one pretty aggressive. I think he's going to be able to put on a good pace. And I do think that he has the speed advantage. I think he has the advantage in the striking. I think he's fought higher caliber opponents. And again, I know that RDR is a former double one champ, and Holland hasn't even come close to a title. But like, at the end of the day, that's one championship, and this is the UFC. No disrespect to those guys over there. But yeah, I'm going to be going with RDR on this one. Again, Holland definitely has certain advantages in this fight, like in the striking, like in the speed department. But I just think that RDR is solid enough all around, and he has good enough grappling and solid enough striking that I think he's going to be able to hold his own. And I could see a finish of some kind. I don't even know fucking what, but maybe like a second or a third round for this one. I think it's going to end in a finish regardless. It's the main card opener. Both these guys are going to go look putting on a statement for different reasons. So who the fuck knows? But I think it's a good fight to make. So moving on up next to Beneil Dariush versus Money Moicano, baby. So I'm a pretty big Money Moicano fan. Definitely rooting for him in this one. And I think he's going to win this one. Easy money, brother. Now, I understand that a lot of people are overlooking Dariush, but stylistically, man, I think it's a rough matchup. Like, and I don't think it's just all just because Moicano is, like, riding a lot of hype. Like, maybe a couple years ago, yeah, I'd probably be going with Dariush on this one. But, like, Moicano, not only is he just riding all the hype in the world right now, comparatively to a guy like Dariush who has absolutely no fucking momentum. He has negative momentum on his side. Regardless, just in terms of, again, talking about this stylistically, I think that Moicano's grappling comparatively to Dariush has good grappling, don't get me wrong, but like comparatively, I think that not only Moicano's is better, but I also think it's more dangerous. Plus, when it comes to the striking, I would give Moicano the edge there. Moicano's never been a guy who's been always crazy on the feet or is able to completely drown guys in there. He's not the biggest power puncher in the world, but I'm looking at the state of Dariush right now. I'm looking at the past couple performances, and I think that Moicano's gonna have the advantages in the striking, in the speed, in the momentum, in the grappling. I gotta give Dariush some credit though. Again, I think his chin's going to be a lot more healed up, and I think he's going to be coming into this one hungry, but I just don't think that's going to be good enough. I think Moicano is going to put a pace and pressure on him, a good pace and pressure on him from the start. I think he's going to be able to overwhelm him. I could see this one going the distance, but I think Moicano, I think he wants to go out and make a fucking statement. Like I was saying earlier, I don't think Moicano is the biggest power puncher in the world, but I honestly, if this fight doesn't go the distance, I could see a TKO coming from Moicano, whether it be on the feet or just like the Saint Denis fight we see, or not the Saint Denis fight, the Saint Denis fight, we see a lot of ground and pound. I'm pretty sure that was how we got Turner out of there as well in the second, but I could be wrong about that. But Moicano, again, I see some kind of ground and pound TKO coming for him on this one. It's fucking wild that these two are the exact same age, but Benny's been fighting the goddamn old man allegations for a while now, and it seems like Moicano is really coming into his second prime. Moicano is going to be quicker on the feet. He's got a good chin. He's got good offensive and defensive grappling. He's on a good win streak right now. I could maybe see Dariush winning this one. No, actually, never mind. Fuck that shit. I'm going all in on Moicano. He's one of my locks of the card, in my opinion. And again, if that goes wrong, then this is going to age like shit, but it is what it is. I want to say this real quick, too. I think that the UFC this is not a great fight to make. Like, I think Moicano versus Pimblett was the right one. It just made sense for Moicano. It made sense for Pimblett. And like, now we might get Pimblett versus Chandler. And the fact that Pimblett, if he beats Chandler, is going to be ranked above Moicano is pretty wild before we even got this fight. Because if Pimblett gets ranked above Moicano, I don't think we're ever going to see that fight. I think at that point, Patty's going to be like fucking 7 or 8 or something. They're just going to try and give him somebody in that top 5. So it's going to be a real shame if we never end up seeing that fight. I feel like that could have been good shit talking back and forth. I feel like stylistically could have been really fun. And maybe I would even think Patty wins that one. But at the end of the day, we're getting, oh man, Dariush versus Money Moicano. But yeah, if Dariush is able, if his chin really is super healed up and he's able to survive the pace and pressure that Moicano is going to bring, and his grappling is just as good as ever, then I think Dariush could win it. But overall, easy money for Moicano, brother. I'm going to be going with Moicano on this one. But moving on, up next to Jiri Prochazka versus Jamahal Hill. All right, dude. This is a very, very tough fight to call, all right? Really exciting fight, by the way. This is a long time in the fucking making. It's a banger of a matchup. Perfect fight to have as a featured slot of a big pay-per-view card. I think these guys are going to go to fucking war, okay? I do want to say about my actual pick, I had Jamahal Hill from the moment this fight was announced a couple months ago to literally yesterday. I thought Jamahal Hill was going to win. That was my pick. I was set on it. Like, yeah, I had some doubts. I was kind of going back and forth, but like I was like Jamahal Hill. Like, I think Jamahal Hill's going to take it. And I'm going to explain why, but I'm switching picks. I'm going to be going with Jiri Prochazka on this one. I think Yuri's going to be able to take this, okay? Now let me just break this one down. I think for sure the biggest factor in this fight by far is going to be how is Jiri's chin. Is Jiri's chin compromised? Is Jiri's chin going to be able to hold up after the last performance? Because it's not like he got completely flatlined, but it was a rough TKO, bro. Like, and then you're falling in Herb Dean's arms and shit. Like, it's a really rough look. The head kick KO, yeah, like he totally took him out there, but Prochazka wasn't exactly out at that moment, but Ferriera just overloaded on the strikes down there. And then the fact that Prochazka got up and then again was falling in the arms, it wasn't really good luck. The motherfucker just should have let him sit down, bro. And I get why Herb Dean probably kind of let that one loose a bit more because of how like people were kind of complaining, oh, Prochazka, early stoppage. And I do think it was an early stoppage in the first fight against Ferriera, but either way, it's a rough look and it was a rough TKO. But the reasons why I was going to be going with Jamahal Hill, right? People forget the dude can fight. Seriously, people forget, man. But not only that, but he's got good, crisp boxing. He's got good cardio. He's not an offensive grappler by any means. Like, I don't even think he's ever shot a takedown in the UFC. But defensively on the ground, he's actually pretty solid. And on top of that, he beat a guy like Glover Teixeira. And I understand that, like, that kind of maybe you want to put an asterisk next to it because Glover kind of fought like on a month's notice, I believe. Like, they kind of just scrambled to put together some Vegan bell, and like Teixeira was already kind of fucking done at that point, was coming off the Prochazka loss. So I don't think the win really is great, as some people say, but at the end of the day, you're still fucking, you know, he still became the champion. He still beat Glover Teixeira. He still has really solid wins on his resume. And again, when I'm talking about the skill set, that's why I thought that Jamahal Hill was going to win that one. And I thought if Hill could catch Jiri with some really good combinations or even a big power shot, I could see a knockout from him. But that knockout from Hill was considering that one, Jiri's awful striking defense was going to be able to leave him open. 2, Jiri's low fucking fight IQ was just going to let him fucking people forget. Okay, I got to stop saying that. But like, he was going to forget that he's in there actually trying to win the fight, and then Hill was going to catch him. And 3, if his chin really was fucked from the last fight. But that was a lot of like what if variables and like shit I'm not really sure about. What actually convinced me to go with Prochazka was when I was looking at this fight stylistically, okay? When I was ignoring just completely depending on if Prochazka's chin's gonna hold up. When I really look at this fight, if Jiri's chin in this fight is gonna be as good as it was his entire career, because Jiri does have a really good chin. It's as talented as he is, it's one of his strongest assets in there. And if he's able to go in this fight and his chin's okay and he doesn't completely just fucking put himself in reckless situations, even 5% less, all right? I think even with the poor striking defense, I think Jiri's going to be able to take this one. I think Jiri's chin's going to be able to be intact. I think it's the TKO. I think it's a TKO and a loss that is very recoverable. Is that a word? That sounds retarded. Recoverable? Yeah. I think he's going to be able to overwhelm Hill with a good pace and pressure and power from his striking. Jiri's a very unorthodox fighter. He's a hard fighter to prepare for. And again, I don't believe he's lost in the UFC other than Alex Pereira, who's on the cusp right now, being real close to like a top 5 fighter of all time. And I could see this being a situation where Jiri is kind of like the clear second best guy in the division, but we're just in Alex Pereira's era. Prochazka, again, he's a really unorthodox striker. He's hard to prepare for. He has a great finishing ability, and he has good cardio that's able to maintain it. He's also clearly the much better offensive grappler here. I don't think he's going to be trying to take this fight to the ground too much, but again, he's actually comfortable with shooting takedowns, and he did submit Glover Teixeira of all fucking people. And then unlike Jamahal Hill, who again, I don't think has ever even shot a takedown in the UFC, despite the solid takedown defense, the grappling advantage is clearly going to be able to go up to Prochazka on this one. But despite me picking Jiri, there's a reason why I had Hill the whole time. Again, like I could totally see a Jamahal Hill win here, especially if Jiri's chin is shit or he's going in there low as fuck fight IQ. But again, the striking defense being awful from Jiri is kind of always just gonna be there. It's just his style, I guess. But even then, man, people forget, man, but Jamahal Hill, he's a very underrated fighter, to be honest. I understand that kind of annoying outside the cage and a lot of people don't fuck with the guy, but like inside the cage, cage, people genuinely forget that the motherfucker is good at fighting. He has good striking. He has solid fight IQ. He has good cardio. He's got solid takedown defense. Like when you look at the skill set, I totally could see he'll win in this one. And he's got solid pop behind his punches. He's a former champion, you know what I mean? Granted, probably one of the most least impressive champions in UFC history, but at the end of the day, this is a very 50-50 fight. I could totally see this fucking going either way, but I think it's going to be an absolute war. I'm super excited for it, but I'm going to be going with Jiri Prochazka via a round 3 knockout. Hopefully the fight IQ and the chin is there, but otherwise, then it might be a rough night for him. But moving on, up next to Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Hey guys, Sean O'Malley, quadrilogy. Now, I'm gonna be going with Umar on this one, as it seems like everybody fucking else is, but I'm gonna say, dude, my gut is telling me Merab. I'm just choosing not to listen to it, but my gut's telling me Merab. The fact that nobody's picking him as well, like I haven't seen anybody, and he's this much of an underdog going into this one, it's kind of concerning, and it has one of those feelings where I could totally see an upset. And despite Umar being a massive fucking favorite, I genuinely believe this. I'm not just saying this to fucking say it. Like, I genuinely believe that this is a really close fight. So one of the biggest factors going into this one is that Merab, obviously, very passionate about this one, very emotional going into it, very angry, and you gotta wonder, is that gonna work better for him or worse? Because the closest I've seen him kind of act like this going into a fight or having these emotions was against Petr Yan, and that was one of the best performances of his career. He totally fucking dog-walked Yan of all people, and Yan is skilled as fuck, and to this day, proving that he's still in it. He's this close to another title shot, for God's sake. So if Merab can bring forward that attitude and that tenacity going into this one, I think it makes his chances even better. But I do say it is kind of concerning for Merab, because I think both of these guys are each other's nightmare matchups. When you look at how Merab, usually his path to victory is kind of to go in there, out cardio guys. He has solid enough striking on the feet, and he has a solid enough chin where they aren't able to take him out of there, so he's just overwhelming them with the great cardio and the dominant grappling. But I don't know if he's going to be able to do that against Umar. And again, in terms of the striking, the clear advantage is for Umar here. But in the grappling, it's very, very close, and I can't say for sure who's going to get the better of who down there. And also for the cardio, Umar has good cardio. He went out there and he fucking 49-46 Corey Sandhagen and looked good while doing it, man. So he's able to go those 5 rounds at a solid pace. So both of those factors are there for him. So I don't know if Merab's really going to be able to outmuscle him in those departments like he usually is against all the opponents he faces, you know what I mean? Now, I will say about Merab's performance against O'Malley, it was a little bit concerning, because the fact that Merab is known for such great cardio, but then he lost the 5th round. The Sean O'Malley win was good, but I feel like if you told me that fight was going to go to the distance and Merab was going to be the winner, like I would have just assumed that Merab went out there and just fucking drowned him and smudged him and just fucking dominated for 5 rounds. But actually, I do think that Merab was the clear winner, but it was a relatively close fight. So that definitely does concern me, because then when you look at the opposite end, Umar's last opponent against Corey Sandhagen, yeah, I understand that Corey, strategy-wise, like, it wasn't fucking great going to that one. A little bit too much Nerdhagen, and kind of just was way too focused on the grappling comparatively to his striking, where usually he shines. And granted, it kind of paid off because he did make great improvements in the wrestling, was able to kind of hold his own, but it also didn't pay off because he fucking lost, and Umar got the better of almost all the striking, and he fucking 49-46'd him. So Merab's on a great win streak right now, and he's the fucking champ. And if he wins this fight, I genuinely believe he's the bantamweight GOAT, but he's fighting Nurmagomedov, and the UFC really wants Umar to win this one. It seems like they don't really fuck with Merab. In these situations where the champion, who the UFC doesn't like, kind of gets rushed to have the belt taken off of them against an opponent that they really like, it usually doesn't go well for said champion. So there's just a lot of concerns for Merab here. But again, if he's able to get this one done, he's definitely the bantamweight GOAT in my opinion. Bantamweight needs a GOAT, dude. I'm sick of it not having a clear fucking GOAT, and I don't believe that Dominic Cruz is the bantamweight GOAT, but I also don't have a counter argument for who is, so I never know what the fuck to say. But I feel like Merab will be completely undeniable at that point, and he'd finally have his first title defense. And again, the fact that he's fighting all the odds, like, you know, the fact that he's fighting on Umar's terms, basically, like, this fight's going down before Ramadan. Merab was the one who had to rush in there, and like, I just want to say this. Oh, also, it's on the same fight as Makhachev, so that is just, you know, better for Team Khabib as well. But I do want to say this. I actually do understand why Merab is so pissed off at this. Like, when you look at the Umar treatment, Umar is genuinely getting better treatment than Sean O'Malley did. And you could say what you want about Sean O'Malley's path to the title and how he went from, like, that number 10 range to fighting like the number 1 or 2 contender in Petr Yan. But even then, at least O'Malley had to fight a little bit just better of competition before getting straight up there. Like, he fought Chito Vera before. He fought Pedro Munez. But with this, Like, I don't even know how Umar entered the fucking rankings. Like, I'm pretty sure he beat whoever was number 15 at the time, slowly, without even fighting, just made his way to number 10, fought Corey Sandhagen, beat him, and then that's just it. So, and when you have a guy like Merab, who had to beat 3 or 4 former champions before even getting the title shot, it's pretty fucking wild, and I can understand why he was so pissed about that. But, and honestly, that kind of makes me want to root for Merab. I am rooting for Merab. Like, I do think that Umar's going to win. I could see a 48-47 here, and if it's a close decision, you already know that the judges are going to fucking give it to Umar, but I'm rooting for Merab. Like, I want to see him beat the odds. He's a huge fucking underdog. I want to see him become the bantamweight GOAT. Like, I'm not really a Umar guy. Not to say I'm like a Merab fan either, but like, I'm rooting for him in this one. I would like to see him kind of prove everybody fucking wrong, so it's going to be really tough for him, though. Again, I think these guys are each other's nightmare matchups, so I'm going to be going with Umar via 48-47. I think usually where Merab shines, I don't think he's going to be able to in this one, but we'll fucking see, man. So, moving on to the main event, Makhachev versus Tsarukyan 2. I'm going to be going with Makhachev on this one. So, speaking of Merab about to become the bantamweight GOAT, if Islam wins this one, I believe he's pretty much the lightweight GOAT at this point. If people already have him there already, and I'm not going to fucking blame you at all. I think that's totally fucking fair. But in my opinion, I do think he just needs that one more to be able for me to put him above Khabib. I want him to see him get the title defense record for the division. I want to see him get this other win over the clear, like, biggest test right now at lightweight. Yeah, so talking about this actual fight though, man, I'm glad that we're finally getting this one because, like I said, it's definitely the biggest challenge right now at lightweight for Islam, and Islam's come out and said that he's going to be fighting the winner of Shavkat versus Belal, which is really interesting because I think a lot of us were under the impression that he wasn't going to ever face Belal. So I think he's pretty serious and realizes that, like, he wants that welterweight title and he's willing to face Belal, even if he fucking kind of has to maybe fuck up a friendship for it. But either way, him fighting the winner of Shavkat or Belal, either matchup is really, really intriguing. So that's another, I'm just rooting for Islam in this one. I want to see him become the lightweight GOAT. I want to see him surpass Khabib. I want to see him get those title defenses. I want to see him chase that double champ status. Like, I think Islam, in terms of just, people call him such a boring fucking fighter or like just a dagger that gets all glazed and shit, but like, the dude puts on entertaining fights as a late man, and he gets finishes while doing it. So Arman has improved a lot since these guys fought the first time. I'm pretty sure it was fucking his UFC debut, and he had to step up like short notice, and even then he made it sort of competitive against Islam, and getting this rematch has been a big motivation for him, and it clearly worked out. He's made big improvements in the striking, made big improvements in the cardio, made big improvements in the wrestling, and the fact that he's only 28 years old shows that he still has a lot of room to improve. I could totally see Arman being one of those guys where Islam, after he retires in a couple years, I could see Arman kind of becoming the champ in his early 30s. I think he's that skilled, but I think that we're just in Islam Makhachev's era right now, you know what I mean? Arman Tsarukyan's a guy where he has good striking, he has solid power, he has good wrestling, and he's got good cardio, and he just beat Charles fucking Oliveira. Granted, Oliveira didn't look great in that fight, but he did make it really competitive and close, so you gotta give Arman his respect on that one, and he punched the fuck out of a fan, which is actually pretty funny. And I found out, I think a lot of us did, that Arman is a genuine millionaire, so the fact, I gotta give even more respect to him, that he's able to be this hungry and is able to make it this far in the UFC. When he's waking up in silk sheets, it makes McGregor seem a little bit more exposed when you got guys like Topuria and Tsarukyan who are already fucking millionaires before they make their damn debut, but yet they're still reaching championship aspirations and heights. So I'm not really a fan of Tsarukyan, but I do gotta give my respect for that. And again, while he has good striking, good power, good wrestling, and solid fight IQ, I just think that Islam is better everywhere. That's the thing, man. I think Islam has better striking. I think he has better wrestling. I think he has better cardio. I think he has better fight IQ. And I know a lot of people are giving him shit for the Dustin Poirier performance. Oh, Poirier took him to close waters, man. Poirier gave him a lot of problems. Yeah, he did. And honestly, I thought Makhachev, granted, if I thought he was going to win, which I did, I thought it was going to be much easier than what ended up happening. But dude, Dustin Poirier, I feel like was willing to die that fucking night. Like, it was his big retirement fight. That's what all of us thought it was going to be. Like, that was the big storyline going into it. I genuinely thought Poirier was going to be willing to fucking die in that cage. He wanted that shit bad. And I feel like it's not even like Poirier is that washed, man. Only like 35 years old and shit. Like, I don't know why all of a sudden, like, people are changing up, and now all of a sudden, like, it was a great fight and Makhachev had a good win. And now all of a sudden people are just shitting on it. Like, I get it. Makhachev should have went out there and definitely made it more clear of a win, more dominant of a win. Thought a lot of us thought he was going to make it a lot easier than that, but I think that just goes to show how much Poirier wanted that shit and how good of improvements that Poirier had made. made in the defensive grappling. So I still think it's a solid win for Makhachev. Again, I think he just has all the edges right now. I think that for as good as Tsarukyan is and as good of improvements as he made, I just think that we're in Makhachev's era right now. Arman's gonna fucking bring it, and I actually think this is gonna be a really close competitive fight, but I'm gonna be going with Makhachev via a 48-47 decision. Maybe I could see a finish here, but I honestly feel like these guys are gonna bring the best out of each other, and I can't really see this one going to some kind of stoppage. Would fucking love it, but I just don't know if we're gonna get it. But it's a fantastic main event. This has been being talked about for so fucking long, so I'm glad through all the bullshit we're finally able to get it. So that's pretty much gonna be it for the actual predictions of the card, but I do just want to, this is kind of a new thing I want to do with all kind of like the predictions videos and shit. So I kind of want to throw in a few like little end of the video shit where I kind of just want to cover like the blank of the card, if that makes sense. It's gonna make sense as I fucking go over this. Okay, so pretty much underdog of the card, dude. In my opinion, I think it's Reiner to Ritter. Granted, he's not that big of an underdog, but dude, when I'm looking at the ones I'm picking, or if I'm looking at the ones that I think have a shot, I think Reiner to Ritter is the underdog of the card. Who do I think are the locks of the card? I think it's going to be Renato Moicano, Jailton Almeida, and Payton Talbott. Those are going to be the three locks I'm going to be going with for this one. Wild card to the card, like someone who's a big underdog, or it might not make sense for them to win, but they end up fucking doing it, and it's not completely fucking impossible. Like, I think it's going to be Merab Dvalishvili. He's going to be the wild card of this one. I feel like he's being so fucking overlooked, and I could totally see him getting a win on this one, and then just, you know, because of the plot, man. And then overall, the rating for this card, how fucking good is it? This is a 9 out of 10, bro. This is a fantastic fucking card from top to bottom. It's been a big talking point for so long. So many people are excited for this one. I don't know if you guys saw the video of the dude that literally like is missing his wife's anniversary to go, dude. He's a fucking real man. It's a fantastic card. Gonna be giving it a 9 out of 10. And yeah, that's gonna be it, guys, for my predictions and breakdown for UFC 311. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Really appreciate y'all for making this far in the video. Let me know the matchups you're looking forward to the most or the least, or let me know some of your picks. We'd love to fucking hear it. We're just here to talk some MMA. So thank you guys so very much for watching All the Smoke MMA here, and I appreciate you guys a lot, and I will see you all next time. Be safe to everybody who's in Cali, man. God bless y'all.